Welcome to Specifically About Quality, the podcast by Qualitywise, where we explore the principles, practices, and challenges of modern quality management. We will discuss key concepts, share real-world examples, and bring clarity to the complexities of quality management. In each episode, we provide insights for quality managers and professionals, helping you lead with confidence, ensure compliance, and drive continuous improvement. This podcast is here to support your work and your impact. Clear, focused, practical. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Specifically About Quality, the podcast where we take a deep dive into the tools and practices that drive real results in manufacturing. I'm Agata Lewkowska, a quality management system expert with years of experience in automotive industry. And today I have Christopher Scott with me.
And I'm Christopher Scott, an expert in quality assurance and operational excellence in the automotive industry as well. Thank you for listening to our previous episodes. We hope you find them helpful. Therefore, we kindly ask you to subscribe to our podcast and to grow our audience. Today, we're exploring what we like to call a sleeping giant in many quality management systems, layered process audits, or LPAs.
Maybe you've seen it in customer requirements. Maybe it's a checkbox in your audit program, another kind of audit. But are you really using it as a quality driver? Stay with us. This might just change the way you look at LPAs.
Agata, let's start simple. What's an LPA for someone who's just heard about it for the first time?
At its core, this is an audit. Yes, audit to confirm that we are meeting the requirements. Audits are done on the systematic way, according to the audit program. But here, when we are talking about layered process audits specifically, so we are talking that there are specific layers. There are multiple levels in the organization, from operators to top management, which are involved in performing those audits on a regular basis according to the planning, and they check key performance of the processes to ensure they're being followed consistently. And what's more, this audit is not verifying if our product is okay. This is how the work is done. Is it performed according to this, how the workstation is designed? Because this LPA is performed specifically on a certain workstation, not on the whole line, let's say.
And that layer part, that's the magic, because instead of a once-a-year audit, as you're alluding to, you have daily, weekly, and monthly checks done by different roles. It keeps the process discipline alive, and something that people would hear in training with industry is it's called a job observation.
Yes, and this time frequency, which you mentioned, can be defined depending on the specific layer, yes? For instance, daily, the supervisors, operators, weekly, engineers, monthly, top management simply. So why do we say it's a sleeping giant now, Chris? In my opinion, when we done right things, it prevents defects from even having a chance to happen, yes? So it builds process ownership somehow. But so often companies treat it like a bureaucratic task. Moreover, they treat our customer-specific requirements require from us this. And let me emphasize that currently we have CSRs from Stellantis Group, FCA or PSA, strongly mandating layered process audits, and also General Motors requires performing layered process audits. So we see that here from these three OEMs, we have really quite strict requirements for performing those layered process audits. And I must say they are quite demanding, especially in my opinion, FCA is quite demanding.
One of the first questions we get, why doesn't our LPA add value? Does that sound familiar to you, Agata?
I hope so not, that we don't see the value on performing LPAs. But if so, the number one issue, I would say, maybe you have bad questions in your questionnaire. Let me maybe emphasize that layered process audit definitely, in its nature, it should be short audit. So let's say on average, maybe 15 to 20 questions, which should be done in a fast way, let's say. But of course, with certain accuracy, yes? If your checklist just asks, is the operator wearing gloves without connecting to critical risks? it won't drive improvement. What I'm doing when I'm training in LPAs, one of the workshop elements is that we in the organization are defining the factors which can be taken into consideration to build such a questionnaire, yes? And then we are, of course, rating these factors, which one is the most critical one and should be definitely in the questionnaire. Of course, always safety-related questions are valuable and could be put in the liar process audit. So if operator is wearing gloves, okay, it is a good question. Let's be frank. But this is not to drive improvement, yes, because this is actually our obligation to wear these gloves. We are talking about assuring this what is required from the process perspective, yes.
And another inconsistency that we've seen is one supervisor on one shift does it seriously. They take it seriously, they follow all the requirements and they're trained, and another one rushes through it, and that's because that's their KPI, is just to get it done rather than the quality of the actual assessment and process audit. So another one could be that our leadership only joins audits just before a customer visit. So if you're in bus manufacturing, we have operators that come to buy the bus, so just before they come, they do all of the rush work. Or it could be that you're a supplier, a tier 1 supplier, and the OEM is coming to see you, and you're quickly checking all the documentation and make sure it's up to date, but it doesn't mean that the actions are actually done on the day. So regularity, which is a result of having a solid layered process audit planning and program, is key to be able to make that a success. The more you do it, the more regular and more consistent you do that, the better it will be and the more improvement it will make.
Yes, this is good, what you've said. Also, to fix this, you need 3 things. Risk-based thinking applied, so risk-based questions linked to your control plan, and FMEA. Maybe other factors as well, connected to customer complaints. Training everyone on the why behind the audit, as people should understand why we are doing this. The good thing is to start with a kind of a workshop for convincing people that this brings the value to our organization. And the third thing I would say, keep the discipline in scheduling and follow up. Otherwise, it will not work out because there won't be this consistency. Okay? So one scheduled must be performed on each levels every day or weekly or monthly or even once per 3 months in some organization if there are more liars, but according to the rules which was established in our organization. Okay, follow-up is needed because we may have non-conformities which will not be closed just directly when we are on the shop floor. There need some more actions, maybe even some investments, and those actions should have a follow-up.
And let's add one more. Feedback loops is really important, especially as part of IATF and continuous improvement in terms of APQP. If layer process audits reveal systemic issues and leadership doesn't act, employees will not treat it as seriously in the organization.
And let's maybe get practical. How to implement a high-impact LPA program? How can someone listening to this podcast start making their LPA program powerful, Chris?
Step 1. Map your process risks. Tie your LPA questions to control points in the process failure mode effect analysis and the control plan.
I would add also to the work instructions even, yes? What's more? Then set up your liars. You need to define how many liars you would like to have in your organization. These liars definitely must be somehow connected to the size of our organization, because if you are a small organization, you will probably not have 4 liars like in a big organizations, which I also experienced seeing 4 liars. Typical are 3 liars. Daily, the first liar can perform those audits, and this would be the audit done by the operator or even supervisors. A second liar can be done weekly by engineers, monthly by managers, or if we would like to go to 4 liars, we can say third liar by a specialist, like even quality management system specialists, yes, or other supervisors. And 4th liar done by managers, yes. And the schedule. Schedule is important. This can't be an option when I will do LPA. I have a certain date, especially on daily basis, yes, special date and the specialist workstation where I have to go and I need to perform this LPA. And Now I have a thought about one CSRs, Stellantis FCA, where they stated in those CSRs that delegation of those activities connected to LPA will not be accepted with the exception of some circumstances like frequent traveling, yes. But generally, if you are put in the schedule, in the LPA's program, this is your obligation. You need to do this audit. Chris, any more tips?
Yeah, my favorite tip is monitoring even when KPIs with trend data and non-conformance follow-ups. So these are things like if your LPA shows the same non-conformity across 3 weeks, that is a red flag for root cause analysis and problem solving.
With KPIs, I would give you an advice. Do not go for too many of those KPIs. Start with the most essential ones. And from my experiences, this is what I'm also advising to Qualitywise clients is that maybe start with the effectiveness of the performance and also the effectiveness of closing non-conformities, because these are really two important aspects of those audits, and this will drive the improvement, yes. What's more, I would add here that those KPI would be good if they are communicated. Top management is seeing regularly these KPIs, maybe on a monthly basis is enough, depending on this, how you are establishing the frequency. When I was doing this LPA program on Greenfield, I even scheduled this on a weekly basis to have weekly follow-up on this, what is happening in LPA program, especially if we have this small frequency on the first layer, like daily audit performance, yes. Of course, you can establish KPIs per each layer to check the effectiveness, but at the very beginning, start with small things, okay? If you will see they are working well, try to improve your LPA program. And what I can say is that I have seen the plans which reduce defect rate even by taking LPA seriously, yes? Because LPAs have really this nature like FMEA. They are a proactive tool, okay? If we are treating this like that, we can really have a great benefit from this and react in a certain moment before the issues will arise, okay? Especially before customer complaint.
Yeah, and that's great. I remember there was one case where we audited one of our clients just to check for their LPAs. And we found that during the audit, we watched the top management do it, and they found that the torque calibration toolkit was drifting before a customer complaint. So they found that it was going out of specification, out of its design limits, and they stopped that during the audit. So unfortunately, the operators didn't notice that, and the production engineers, but a fresh pair of eyes that don't go on the shop floor every day, the Gemba, found the issue, and that is the value. The value is people who aren't blinded by that process, seeing it every day. They see new things because they understand why. Why is this happening and why is it different? So the message that I'd like to give is that leadership visibility is key. So when a plant manager, the managing director, or the CEO, in some cases, shows up on the shop floor with an LPA and there's a checklist, it really does send a message that they care and that it's important to them.
Let me emphasize that LPA can be treated very seriously by your customers. As I mentioned already, we have Stellantis FCA and PSA, which are quite serious about LPA programs. And also, let me emphasize that ETF itself is not saying any requirements dedicated to LPAs. LPAs you can find as an example when you are implementing temporary control methods to those previously established in the project phase before going to the serial production, yes? And LPAs is a recommendation as one of the solutions to make sure that you're on a good track to come back to your previous method. Okay, so if you've been treating LPAs like an afterthought, so maybe it's time to wake up the sleeping giant. And if you're thinking, how do I build the right LPA system? How do I align LPAs with ITF 16949 expectations? We've got you covered.
Check out our Qualitywise training on laid process audits, where we go step by step into designing LPAs that really drive results. And as always, you can download today's free episode summary, LPA Quick Start Guide, Building an Audit Program that Drives Results, available now on qualitywise.pl.
Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow the podcast and remember, in quality, it is the small actions done consistently but build excellence. See you next time. Thank you.